Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the game. Tonight we're going to carry on with our series concerning cycles. And we're going to be talking tonight about the cycles of the earth and the cycle of us humans that live here. They're both highly intertwined. But before we get into the meat of it, let me pass you off to my artificial intelligence sponsor so he can say his little speech. I'll be right back.
Hello, and welcome to the Matrix Game of Life. It is the generosity of viewers like you that makes this channel possible. If you find the information provided as being beneficial, please send a thank you gift. It will be much appreciated. A PayPal link can be found in the description section of all videos. May your Matrix experience be one of health and of prosperity.
Okay, again, welcome back to the game. Let's see where we end up tonight. Before we get in to the main subject matter here, I wanted to mention a few things that I want you to keep in your mind. Because unless you do, there's the tendency to forget exactly what it is we're really talking about. Now, I said that everything that I would be talking about so far is about physicality, about the physical universe, the physical body, everything that's physical. The entire universe, what we can perceive of it with our senses, is in the third dimension. I don't really like to talk about dimensions too much, but there's hardly any other way to speak of some things without using the term dimensions. You can call them planes. We'll just say dimensions. We are in the third dimension. Everything in the third dimension is physical, as we know physical. In other words, what we can perceive with our senses. Okay, now hang with me here. There is a universe coexistent with our 3D universe. There is a universe that's in the sixth dimension. It's the same universe, except its physicality, in this case, so to speak, its physicality is six-dimensional physicality. It's more etheric, lighter than our 3D physicality, and we can't see it because we are only equipped on this earth, on this three-dimensional earth, we are only equipped with senses that perceive three-dimensional physicality. Now, those folks on a sixth dimensional earth, and there is one. We'll get into that. But those folks on the six-dimensional Earth, in their six-dimensional physicality, they can perceive us. They are more evolved, advanced souls. There's a long story behind that evolution, and eventually we'll get into it. It's a pretty lengthy and, for lack of a better term, confusing explanation. So yeah, keep in mind that although we are talking about our third-dimensional physical Earth and everything three-dimensional that is a thing, our bodies, these glasses, whatever it might be, they are the only things that we can perceive at this level because our senses are adapted to the third dimension. Anything beyond the third dimension is out of sight for us. Now, there are exceptions to that, but you would have to be asleep and dreaming to perceive them. When we dream, the things that we perceive in our dream, they appear physical, they smell physical. If we're hearing something in the dream, we hear it, it seems just like when we're awake. But we know better. That when we wake up, we realize that that entire dream was the product of our dreaming mind and had no, what we would call, actual physicality to it whatsoever. It was just a mental image. You follow me? Okay. Now, when we are talking about humanity, us as three-dimensional body-bound people, and when we're talking about a three-dimensional physical Earth, if we really want to talk about them in a way, and if we really want to understand them in a way that they ought to be talked about and understood, we have to talk a little bit about the metaphysical, the esoteric, what some people would call the spiritual. The name you want to put on it doesn't really matter. I said that I wasn't going to speak about anything except our 3D physicality, whether it be the universe or our Earth, or all the things in the 3D universe, our Earth and us among them. However, I will have to mention, in order to put things in context, I will have to mention some metaphysical concepts, esoteric concepts. It can't be helped. That being said, All right. When I thought about that and how I should introduce this video, I remembered one of my ancient Eastern, in this case, comes out from Eastern mysticism. I remembered an old saying, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I wrote it down to make it easier for us to grasp, okay? It goes like this. What to the common man is called the waking state is to the wise man called the sleeping state. And what to the wise man is the waking state is to the common man the sleeping state. You might have to listen to that a few times until it clicks. Now, the reason I mention that little saying is that we're talking about Manvantara and Pralaya. Whether on the human scale or at the scale of the universe. And just to refresh our memories, a Manvantara is a period of manifestation. In other words, when we can perceive with our senses a three-dimensional universe and world. A pralaya is a period, they're equal periods of time, Manvantara and Pralaya, equal periods of time. A pralaya is a period of non-manifestation. In other words, there would be no universe to perceive and no us to perceive it. Manifestation and non-manifestation. Now, that concept of manifestation and non-manifestation, Manvantara and Pralaya, that concept ties directly in to this little saying that I just spoke. Now, why do I bring this up? Because starting from, well, my second video, my first video, that was made before I even knew I'd do videos about a Matrix Game of Life. But starting with my second video, and especially in those 4 videos that I did about the framework of the Matrix, which, if you remember watching those videos, started the flow and the framework started before there was even a universe in existence. It started with us as free-flowing energy. Whittled down to what I called source fractals. And then I talked about the creation of the universe. Not the universe as we perceive it now, because it wasn't yet physical. And you have to remember that I also talked about once we entered into that side, the manifest side, if you, for lack of a better word, the manifest side of a divide to what is purely unmanifest. In other words, its source. The universe's source manifest. We, being source fractals, are source manifest as this fractal. But then I talked about a descent over a vast period of time through many frequency levels, planes, dimensions, until we eventually ended up, as we know it right now, in the third dimension, the matrix, the third dimension of physicality, planet Earth. Which is the only Earth that we know. It wasn't always that way. But we don't remember. We don't remember where we came from and how we got here. And this all ties in to the word cycles, because it's all cyclic. Even the consciousness and mind aspects of source are cyclic. I gotta tell you, everything is so convoluted that if I were to lay out for you everything, just the things I know about all this, I swear, I'd need 5,000 to 10,000 two-hour videos. And even then, I wouldn't have got halfway home. But that's another story. It's so magnificent, that, and it's our normal everyday use of the what we call our mind, which is not our mind. It's a whittled down, it's precipitated out of universal mind. What we use of our mind is, I mean, if you put it into percentages, it's probably like, I don't know, if I had to guess, 4 or 5% of what we could be using. And the things that really, for those of you who enjoy these kinds of things and who really want to look deeper into them, you just the effort to do that, just to make the effort to do that and really start studying it all out, you'll find that if you do that, that there is an expansion of consciousness. Your conscious state will expand, and with that, the mind will expand. And that allows seeing, not physically, but seeing concepts that you go, oh yeah, because you're seeing beyond every mundane types of thinking that we do. You go beyond that. And then you start grabbing a piece of the puzzle here and a piece of the puzzle there. Pretty soon, you'll be able to put together 4 or 5 pieces of a puzzle, and then you'll pick up 3 or 4 more pieces over here, and you start constructing pieces of a puzzle. And then you start constructing where those 2 pieces might fit together, and you keep building. It's a scalar operation. You keep building upon what you've realized, and one day you'll be, for lack of a better word, and I say this with fun, you'll be an ascended master of esoteric concepts and knowledge. And the earth that we're on, as it is right now, I said, I don't know of anything, this is three-dimensional physicality, and there isn't anything lower that's inhabited by humans, animals, vegetation, microorganisms, any iteration of our earth lower than this well, I'll have to explain that. I'll have to explain that when we get on with all the things I really wanted to talk about, which I may never get to in this video. So remember, we're talking primarily about three-dimensional physicality. but I have to at times dip in to the metaphysics of things. It really can't be helped. So just don't shoot yourself when you say, oh, look, he's off on one of those things. Nah. They all work together. All things work together. They really do. In all actuality, everything works together. Whether we recognize it or not is beside the fact. That's why I read this little poem to you. You know, the common man, what the common man calls the waking state, to the wise man, he calls it the sleeping state. And what the wise man calls the waking state, the common man calls the sleeping state. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with manifestation and non-manifestation. I recall to your memory that I said that all of this, I don't care if it's 3-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional, 9th-dimensional, or in a highest angelic realm. Where there's no such thing as physicality, in a manner of speaking. From the angelic realm, from the highest, where we came from when we entered in to the newly created universe that wasn't physical. Beyond that, where pure source is, there is source. All right, let me put it this way. There could be no universe at all, be it 3-dimensional or the highest dimensional, unless universal mind, that aspect of source, universal mind, unless that mind was asleep. Dreaming and imagining all of this lucidly. The universal mind, lucid dreaming. At the end of all right, let me put it this way. Universal mind is in pralaya, sleeping. No manifestation. It's dreaming a manvantara, manifestation. We perceive it as being real, and it is real. It's a real dream. We, being fractals of source, have access to that lucid dreaming universal mind. We have access to that. And remember, I said that source wakes up one source fractal at a time. I say that figuratively. Okay? I say that figuratively. That's what some people refer to waking up. Some people call it waking up. Some people call it enlightenment. Some people call it moksha. There's all kinds of names for the same thing. What you wake up to is to what you are and what's going on. First thing that you wake up to is what you are, source. You wake up to that fact. But that's just the beginning. Then you have to start exploring everything that you remember about yourself. Not the self I'm speaking to, well, indirectly, not the ego self, the persona self. You start remembering about yourself, your true self, source. And we've been around and around and around and around and around and around and around. For so many eternities that it's incomprehensible. So there's a lot to remember. We on this earth and on this three-dimensional physical earth, our lives in the three-dimensional earth and the matrix are synonymous. Because we're using three-dimensional physical earth mind power. And this is a mind game. That's why you want the mind to expand. So you learn how to play the game and beat the game at it using its own tricks. It is a game. In essence, everything is, if you want to look at it from that slant. But knowing all these things, they don't seem to have much to do with our life on earth and all the bullshit, the pain, the suffering, the worries, the anger, the wars, the killings, all that junk. What about that? What do we do about that to make our life, dreamed or not, what do we do to make our life better? Well, it's not anything that you can go to college for. It just isn't. That's the wrong kind of knowledge to improve your life. The only improvement that's going to come to your life is solely dependent upon what's going on between your ears in your mind. It's a mind game. And in order to make things better and to improve your life using the mind, you've got to put the mind through its daily, well, you have to put the mind through its tasks. You got to expand it. Because in a small, condensed mind, there's not a lot of room in there for the kinds of stuff we're talking about. There just isn't. One would hope that at least there's enough room in that little condensed mind for the concept of curiosity. Okay, what can I do to make my life better? Never hurts, if you want to make your life better, to understand what your life is. If you understand what life is, you understand the problem. And it's hard to fix a problem if you don't even see it as a problem. Something that isn't broke doesn't need fixing. Wow. 35 minutes of an introduction, so to speak. But we're going to get back to cycles here. And we're talking about cycles of the earth and cycles of humanity as we perceive it from perception, sense perception, that is tailored for a three-dimensional physical earth. We knew we were coming here. We really didn't know what to expect. Man, if I have any say in the matter, I ain't coming back here. There's better places for your soul to frolic around in. This isn't the place. This is the place of birth and death. That's a cycle. For the lay person, the person who has absolutely no ground in spirituality or the esoteric or the metaphysics or the occult, spirituality, call it what you want. Somebody who has no background whatsoever in any of that, they have no idea how they got here as a little baby. They'll say, oh, mommy's egg and daddy's sperm. Well, yeah, that has something to do with it, but that's a minor part of the story. As wonderful as the sex might have been, but how did he get here? How did I get here? What am I doing here? What happens when I die? Oh, I hope I never die. That's so scary. Oh, why do I have cancer? Why does my wife hate me? Why am I broke? You know, like the things to complain about, you feel an ocean with them. We want to get out of that, don't we? We want to get out of this physical third-dimensional plane. We want to get out of here and we don't want to come back. All right. That being settled, It is with me anyhow. We're going to talk about the cycles of the earth. Yes, the earth cycles. And we cycle. Everything in just the third dimension physical universe cycles. And if there is a universe in another dimension higher than this, it also cycles. And one higher than that, it also cycles. But let's not get into the weeds here. Let's keep this simple. Here we are on this earth. In my last video, I said, is it possible that one day our earth will dissolve and another earth will appear? And that earth will dissolve and another one will appear. Now, as crazy as that sounds, you have to consider number one, that anything that it exists, if it's manifest existence, like if you were on, let's say, the planet Taygeta in the Pleiades, or Taygeta is the sun, if you were on one of the planets that revolves around that sun in the Pleiades, they're mostly fifth-dimensional beings. They have a physicality, but it's a lot lighter than ours, and it lives a hell of a lot longer. And they're so far advanced that if something does go wrong with their physical body, they got the equipment to fix it on the spot. They don't die. They choose to move on. There's no fear of death. They're higher dimensional beings. I've heard them speak. And if you've ever heard them speak, you would know that the words and the concepts that are being spoken isn't coming out of the University of Pittsburgh Science Department. You would know it. I mean, and it would all resonate. It would resonate with your soul. It would resonate with your DNA, which is where all higher frequency information enters. It doesn't enter through your pineal gland. It doesn't enter in through your nostril. Higher information is frequency, code. That's why I use the term download. It's code. And in our DNA strands, there is a bit of what all the New Ages are looking for. There's a bit of crystalline substance. And these crystalline substances have a component which is an antenna. In every DNA strand in your body, you have this. These crystalline antennae, which are a component of your DNA, they pick up frequencies. The frequencies are fed through your central nervous system, primarily through your pineal gland, and where it's interpreted for the mind to read. DNA is very important. It's a fascinating subject. It really is. It's fascinating. But everything in the universe, it's like, I'll get to where I'm going. Give me a minute here. Science in general teaches that the Earth exerts a gravitational field. I beg to disagree. A gravitational field creates an Earth. And a gravitational field is nothing more than frequencies at various different levels, a whole bunch of different frequencies coming to what's called a Leia point. And they all converge in this one little point. And they start manifesting. It's the marriage of spirit with matter. Matter as we know it. Every body in this universe that we can see, perceive, is formed that way. There's a point, frequencies, a Leia point, frequencies converge on that. That's called, it congeals, so to speak. That's called gravity. And it forms material. For our purposes, let's say atoms. Now, I gave all that little bit of information there because now I want to talk about the cycles of the Earth. And remember, I said in my last video, that the Earth is a living being. It's a living being. Its physical body is a bit different than ours. Well, number one, it's way bigger. But the Earth, too, has DNA. Do not redwood trees and dandelions and corn on the cob and all that stuff, don't they grow from the earth? Sure. The earth has DNA. Animals have DNA. They're of the earth. We have DNA. We're of the earth. I said in my last video that we don't live on the earth. We are the earth. We are a component of it. We contribute greatly to the earth's overall consciousness. It's called a collective consciousness of us humans and the animal kingdom and even the plant kingdom, which even plants are conscious in their own way. Because everything is consciousness. I don't want to go there, but before it's even written in the scriptures, and you've heard this a million times. From dust were you taken, and unto dust will you return. That's a concept. That doesn't mean that you are what you eat, and when you die, you're going to turn into dirt. It doesn't, or get buried in some grave. It doesn't mean that. It can mean that on a very low level of philosophy or something. But we literally are of the earth, of the dust of the earth. From dust you were taken, to dust you shall return. That's true. You can believe that or not believe it. Does it matter? Maybe not at this juncture, but somewhere down the road, if you keep plowing away at all this, it'll make sense. You'll go, oh, how could I have not seen that? That's what will happen. But the earth in general, which includes us, humanity, the animal kingdom and the plant, and the earth and the rivers and the core and everything, all inclusive. It cycles. There are 7 Actually, there are 7 Earths. We're not going to talk about the first 3 because we're beyond that evolution. Those were like when everything was real hot and bubbly and fireworks going off everywhere and stuff, and then eventually it cooled and, it was going through its cycles. We, right now, this Earth is what's called the 4th Earth. Now, this is what gets hard to explain. And I see by the time I've already put in here that I'm only going to have a little bit of time to explain it, and I can't explain it all. We'll have to continue it. Remember I said that we descended from free flowing energy to this side of the barrier between the manifest and the non-manifest. We descended down, 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 down over eons and eons and eons of time until we ended up here. Now, when I say we ended up here, we did not end up on a 3rd dimensional physical planet. We ended up, for lack of a better term, there's 7, we'll say we ended up on the 7th planet, whose physicality was nothing like this. It was light and feathery. You could jump 100 yards if you wanted to. That is far... Okay. From that Earth, we kept on descending to another Earth below it. And we kept descending to another Earth below it. And we kept descending to this Earth, the hardest, the most dense, the lousiest, crappiest Earth that humanity has ever existed upon. Now, here's where I'll get back to talking strictly about the physical 3-dimensional Earth. Okay? I've got all the esoteric stuff out of the way. Kinda. The Earth goes through 4 different ages. this physical earth. It goes through 4 different ages. Not the ones you learn in, if you're studying, whatever the science of rocks is and stuff in college. These are different kind of ages. They're called yugas. Y-U-G-A. Yugas. And there are 4 of them. Now, these ages follow the same pattern of Manvantara and Pralaya. On, off, on, off, on, off. All right, I'll just outline this rather than get into a big teaching about it here. The first age was called the Treta Yuga. Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. I knew something was wrong there. The first age, the first Yuga was called Satya Yuga. That was the golden age. That's kind of when we first got to that earth that was far more etheric than dense physicality. It was the golden age. It was we had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. And that went on well, I'll put a chart up for you. But it went on for, let me see here. It went on for a total of 1,728,000,000 solar years. Mortal years. Okay? Then we kept descending. We entered what's called the Treta Yuga, which is the second age. Okay? It's also known as the Silver Age, because it was a pretty good time too. A little bit denser, a little heavier, not nearly what the Golden Age was, but hey, it's still silver, that'll spend. That lasted for, and you'll notice all these ages start decreasing in length. That lasted for 1,296,000 mortal years. Then we kept descending. We descended down into the next Earth age. This is also the evolution of our Earth. We're on it, but we're evolving right along with it. You gotta keep that in mind. The next age we entered was the Dvapara Yuga, also known as like the Bronze Age. Everything's getting denser, everything's getting heavier, including us. Life isn't quite as easy as it was in the first 2 yugas. It's still all right, but it's getting pretty hard. But we keep descending. we get in to what's called Sandhya Yuga, which is like the Copper Age. Things are okay, but what we can remember of it, they ain't like they used to be. It ain't the good old days, but they're okay. And we spent 864,000 mortal years in that yuga, that age of the earth. Then, I think it's in there somewhere, right? And it had to be, and from what I'm seeing, this is where we got the bright idea for a game, because we knew where we were headed, kinda. I won't go there right now. Okay. From this Copper Age, we descended into the fourth and final age of our Earth. By this time, we're in the full physicality as we know it. It's called Kali Yuga. You might have heard that term. It's called Kali Yuga. Now, Kali Yuga is going to last 432,000 years, mortal years. Okay? Now, that whole thing is a descent. It's a descent. Right now, from what they say, and I can't speak from direct experience, although if what they say is true, I'm experiencing it, and so are you. We are about halfway through Kali Yuga, meaning we still have approximately 251,000 years to go in this 3D full materiality, full physicality. I don't know of anything lower. This is the hard yuga. This is the hard one, buddy. We're right in the midst of the crap. However, they say we're about halfway through that, and now we're going to start an ascension. Okay? Just like we descended from Source, and the whole idea of everything is we're going to descend back there. That whole trip, that's long, sucker. That's a long trip, buddy. Don't hold your breath. But we are just about at the halfway point of Kali Yuga. So now we're starting our ascent. Meaning things are probably going to get quite a bit worse before they start getting better. That's physicality for you. I mean, if you look at what's going on in our world today, it's craziness. It's craziness, it's madness. Or what are people thinking? I watch it for entertainment, and I have other reasons for watching it. It's so, like, I kind of know what's going on here more than there. I mean, I don't have any huge interest in this world any longer. I don't. I just don't. It's like it says in the Bible, you're in the world but not of it. That's true. Okay? So we're going to start an ascent. We're going to go in, we're going to ascend into the Bronze Age. We're going to ascend into the Silver Age. Then we're going to ascend into the Gold Age. That's called a Maha Yuga. That's one cycle of yugas. Or 4 million. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm reading these numbers wrong. A whole cycle. Look, where I was saying 1,728,000, I should have said 1,728,000,000. And where I said 1 million, I should have said 1 billion. And where I said 864,000, I should have said 864 million years. And where I said 432,000, I should have said 432 million years. Okay? So the whole descent and the whole ascent put together, that's a full yuga cycle, a Maha Yuga. That is I hope I didn't type all these down wrong. I mean, I've studied this such stuff so much, and I'm bad at numbers as it is, but I believe the whole cycle takes 4,320,000,000,000 years. That's a long time. And that's just one cycle of 7 rounds. I mean, we're getting into gigantic astronomical numbers, and I really don't want to go there because it's the principle that has to be picked up rather than the longevity. But we are talking about long periods of time. Okay? Our scientists say that they can look through their telescopes, like the Webb telescope and a Hubble, and they can see back in time stars, the light of stars that are, like, I think it's 13.5 billion light years. The distance that light can travel in 13.5 billion years. And that's just as far as they can see. And they say that those stars are probably already burned out and we're still just seeing the light that they emitted. Well, that's partly true and partly isn't, because the speed of light is not a constant. There's a lot of people who would argue that with me, but it isn't. It's not a constant. The speed of light through space, because there's no such thing as a vacuum in space, although we believe there is. Space has a very, 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 very fine aquatic substance to it. It's very, very etheric water. It's so etheric that it can't be picked up with any measuring devices that we have on Earth or in space. Can I prove that? No, but it does. It does over time slow down the speed of light. It even diminishes it, the power of it. But can I prove that? No, but I will say this. Go open up your Bible to the book of Genesis, very first chapter, book of Genesis, very first chapter, very first paragraph, verse. I won't quote the whole thing. You go read it for yourself. It says that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters and divided the waters, the lower from the upper. It's called the face of the deep. It is the finest etheric matrix. I'm not talking about the matrix game of life here, but in a way it's related. That's another story. The waters of space, the space that we know, and all levels. It's etheric. It's so etheric. It's I don't know a word for it. So fine of water, and this has to do with what I said about there being two types of space. Well, another video. It's a water upon which everything from the angelic realm down to our third dimensional existence, physical existence, is constructed upon. It's where all the layup points are, that all the frequencies, they're emitted from universal mind as a dream, sleeps, dreams, whatever you call it. It's where all these frequencies come together in a nexus to form a gravitational field. And it's the gravitational field that creates whatever form is being dreamed. All right, I'm going to end right there. I wish I were a better orator, but I'm not. But if you watch all my videos, you can see this whole pattern forming. At least I see it forming, I hope I did that good of a job. So when we come back in the next video, I'm going to pick back up on these Earth Yugas and a little bit more about how the Earth and us, how we evolve, and the principle of a descent and an ascent as a cycle. From the teeniest atom to the universe, regardless of what dimension it's on. They all follow the same cycle. Manvantara, and Pralaya. The only thing that differs is the time. And we're timing everything in solar years, immortal years, because that's what we know. You know, what time is it? What time is it right now on Saturn? Do you know? But let me see. One other thing I wanted to say. Oh, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. So yeah. Oh, I know. To say that there was an earth before this earth is kind of wrong. Okay? It isn't that there was an earth, a three-dimensional physical earth before this earth. There is another earth that's on another dimension that's very etheric and far easily more connected to spirit. Things are quite different, okay? And we're headed back there. But we got to do that 7 times until this planet itself evolves. It follows the same ages as us because we are the earth. And after we go through this entire cycle 7 times, the earth will ascend and that ascension is something else we'll take up later on down the road because it gets a little bit more complicated. Okay? But yeah, the earth is a being. It's a living, breathing, eating. It does everything that we do. It's just a different form of a being, and it's far more advanced than we are. And our collective consciousness, it feeds off of. And believe me, it doesn't always like, because we're pretty stupid when it gets right down to it. We're still pretty stupid. The earth doesn't always like what humanity's doing. And it rebels. It rebels. You get it out of its system. Calm down for a while. But everything's interconnected. You know, you hear a lot today about, you know, the Green New Deal. Well, I ain't arguing against them or for them. You know, take the middle way, but I really wish they actually knew what they were talking about. Because they're not wrong. They're thinking about it as all right. That's it. We'll carry this on in the next video coming up. I don't know when that'll be, but pretty soon, I guess. When the Spirit moves me. So, peace be with you. As best you can, enjoy your experience here in the Matrix. Expand your mind. Expand your consciousness. Learn the tricks of this three-dimensional physical matrix. Learn its tricks. Beat it. And make your life better. hard to go any further down. That's another story. All right. Bye. I'll talk to you soon.